Alrighty then, hello and welcome to a very special video. This November is going to be a very non-busy time for the channel because we're preparing for something that I'm sure most of you will know what that is. I'll be announcing it near the end of the month. But yeah, this is going to be something to just sort of fill in the gap in November, and it's also a reaction to something that came out very recently, and that was a what would you call it? It's like a fan edit of Well Enough in Time by the YouTuber Ace Creeper, who I have actually appeared on videos. I think it was one or two videos before. I think it was one.
Wasn't it the Lord's Law review?
Yeah. Actually, it was two. There was two videos. There was the Series 12 preview he was on, and then there was also the Ascension of the Cybermen review he was also on. So I've been on two videos of them before. Right. But he's one of the highest subscribed Doctor Who YouTube channels, I believe.
Yeah. I think he is.
There's a few reasons for that. I remember back when Series 11 was coming out, he used to give some of the most early breaking news, so he got quite a lot of views of that. He's also a video editor and a graphic designer, which means that in this Well Enough in Time edit, which is called Well Enough in Time Noir, because it's obviously based off the genre of film noir, it's not just a straight up desaturate to black and white and 4x3 bars. No, he's actually gone in and stylistically gone through every shot and tried to make it look like an actual film noir, which is really exciting. I think he's also picked a very good episode to do that for as well.
I feel like, this would... Because I think the most it would probably suit would be the scenes with the Master and Bill. I think those would be the scenes that would work best.
Well Enough in Time is a horror with a lot of shadow in it, so I think noir seems to be a natural fit. But yeah, I saw a tweet from Ace Creeper saying, hey, if any of you guys want to link me and show me reactions to it, I want to see it. So I thought, you know what, why not? Why don't we watch Well Enough in Time Noir?
Yeah, but this is EDAR, so we're clearly going to completely hate on it like we normally do.
No, I doubt that. I mean,
it's hard to really criticize an episode that is this good in terms of writing.
I do have
writing-wise, it's so solid.
I do have one or two criticisms of Well Enough in Time, but the main thing that I think we'll get into in the review, obviously we may touch on the story, but the main thing we'll get into the review is more so what Ace Creeper has done to the episode. Yeah, basically that's the idea of the review, is we'll not criticize, sort of praise, or even criticize if we think we need to, what has happened with the edit. I have high hopes, I have high expectations. I think that Ace Creeper, from what I've seen on some of the stuff he's done graphically, he's very talented. Sort of because I myself have studied film editing at university, I am able to recognize to an extent, where talented graphic designer and editor can come from. And what I've seen of Ace Creeper's stuff, he is a pro. He's really good at this stuff, so hopefully he'll be able to deliver on this. I've seen some good feedback on this one already, so I am looking forward to it. This will be interesting. We hardly ever watch Doctor Who together.
No, actually, this is probably the first time.
It's really,
in terms of the actual show.
Well, I mean, because we watched Mission to the Unknown together.
Yeah, but that was it's a pretty much fan-made project.
Yeah. I think the reason...
So this is... Yeah.
The reason why is that when new stuff comes out, we do it by ourselves. And then with New Who, I'm doing it with Jake. And then with Classic Who, you want to do it on your channel. So we hardly ever watch the show together.
Yeah.
I think there was one time we briefly had a look at a couple of scenes in the Caretaker. But...
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we just hardly ever watched the show together.
So this is new. This is new for us as well.
Mission to the Unknown was, I think, the closest we've gotten, actually.
Yeah, that's definitely the closest.
And oh my, that was a bloody good time. I loved that.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. It was a really good fan-made project. A lot of love and care went to it.
And it came out during a time when we were in a dark days of the channel. I think we may have been in our X-Men phase.
Yeah. Oh God.
Has the New Mutants even come out yet? I don't even know.
Yes, it has, and apparently it's terrible.
Well, we may need to watch it and review it, Callum?
Probably just for shits and giggles, to be honest. That's probably why we'd probably do it.
I mean,
because, hey, let's complete the lineup of all shitty X-Men films.
I mean, how about this? If we are in desperate need of an emergency to fill in for the thing we're doing next month, why not?
Yeah, why not?
God.
Live review.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Right.
Are we ready to begin World Enough in Time Noir? Written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Rachel Talalay, and rearranged and edited by George Shedd, aka Ace Creeper.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alright, this is interesting. Okay.
I just noticed though, like, the snow was like lower frame rate. I've never noticed that before.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh.
Oh, I do like this. It is weird seeing CGI in Noir, though.
Yeah.
Like, the speed of it doesn't quite fit. If he had a bigger budget, he maybe could have redone these shots, like, with practical effects. But, you know, I wouldn't expect him to be that, have that high of a budget.
Honestly, the black hole is like probably one of the best CGI effects in Doctor Who.
Yeah. The black hole in the Impossible Planet looks great too.
Yeah.
Especially for 2006. I swear to God, the entire Moffat era was redeemed by this one story.
I'm Doctor Who.
Well, oh, I forgot about this bit.
Your distress call.
God, it's so self-aware.
Like, oh, but think of the age gap.
Stop mucking about and concentrate. Now don't Eirich. Who's there?
Ah, so this works because that was already in black and white.
Yeah.
Hello. What have we got here?
But then within story, then that doesn't really make sense, does it?
Yeah.
Because then she mentions that she's blue.
Yeah.
Comic relief.
We're not fancy.
Darling, that's
You know what? I just realized something. Like, it's quite self-aware and annoying. However, this does actually pay off the whole thing of Belle being into, like, sci-fi shows. So,
Yeah.
she's...
And it makes complete sense for Missy to do this.
Yeah.
Because she's just making fun of the whole thing the Doctor does.
Yeah.
point of this ridiculous exercise.
It's not an exercise, it's a test.
This is the definition of Moffat smug comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't test
Yeah.
it.
But when he's good at it, it's good.
I'm saving us actual minutes. Yeah, okay, whatever. Also, it's
He cut
Oh,
out
you
the
cut it
dab,
out,
didn't
yeah.
he?
Because it wouldn't
He
work.
cut out the dab.
Because it wouldn't work in this time. I'm thank
Yeah.
fuck for that. I'm glad.
Yeah. I don't even know if she's actually trying to dab, but it's
No,
very
it is. It is.
weird.
No, it is. Because it was a thing when Moffat wrote this episode. It was like a new thing.
Yeah, that's true.
because I grew up with him, and his real name is Doctor
And River.
Bill, just trying to wind you up.
His name is Doctor Who. It's so clever.
And then he dropped the Who when he realised it was.
Oh my God. It's so stupid.
Oh, you're blue. No.
Oh
Yeah, that doesn't really work, does
no,
it?
it doesn't.
Stay where you are. Stay calm. He's very frightened.
Oh, and like if you look at him, he's like really dark. So yeah, in terms of the color grading of everybody, it doesn't really work.
Not for this guy, no.
No.
Because he's meant. His face should be a bit brighter, I think.
They're coming.
Yeah.
Oh, these look good though, like the graphs. Anything that's technology looks great because it's like high contrast and the black hole as well.
Yeah.
Like
I knew this scene would probably be a bit iffy.
I
with
feel
the
like this scene
noir.
should be more like, like a Charlie Chaplin film. I feel like it should look more like that until we
Yeah.
get to this bit here.
One day you will look back and wonder who I was and why I did.
I actually jumped out of my seat when I first saw this.
Yeah. It's perfectly set up from the season because he literally does this exact same thing.
And literally everything in the whole episode from this moment onwards is brilliant.
Yeah.
Almost everything.
This is how you subvert expectations.
Oh, no, forget it. Absolutely no way.
Now, Joel agreed.
I'm surprised the university lets Bill to have casual conversations while she's making lunch for all the students.
I mean, special access, psychic paper, you know. He's got a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah. But even
also, he is a teacher
why are you
there.
talking?
He is a teacher there, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No. My thing is like, I've worked in this kind of environment. They do not allow you to have long conversations.
Hang on. This actually looks like a 60s Who scene. Like, especially with the Doctor. Look at this. That actually looks like 60s Who.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Are you having an emotion?
I don't know what it is, but for some reason Capaldi fits so well into this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, the other actors, you're going to be like, oh, it's a modern person in a black and white film. But this, for Capaldi, you're like, yeah, he actually looks like he belongs in this.
He completely works.
This kind of confirms the whole thing I've been saying about how Capaldi fits, like he can fit in any era, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. I totally agree with that.
Every star in the universe. Well, we're going to see them all. But
I think one of the strongest things from New Who is the Doctor and Master's whole relationship.
Uh-huh.
They've really built this up well for the entire show. Didn't know the 12th Doctor liked kebabs so much.
Huh.
The music really fits it as well, actually.
We need the Series 10 soundtrack, Murray Gold.
It's literally been like, what, 3 years now?
3.5.
Great cut.
sorry. I can't promise you that.
Oh, that's so good, actually. Using that in a 3x4 is actually really, really good.
I mean, it's your most important organ and you've no backup. It's like a budget cut.
We'll try. Keep me alive.
This is one of the only times that Moffat's like intercutting with time actually works.
Yeah.
Like, you compare this with Hellbent and it's like night and day.
Oh, God. That is terribly, like, structured in terms of scenes to other scenes.
Care, Smurf. They're not even interested in you.
So I swear to you.
Was that a racial remark?
I mean, yeah, that is. It's a space
Technically,
racial
yeah.
remark.
Sure,
And it's from
Smurf.
Missy, so yeah. We better not discover blue people in our
It's brand new.
Oh yeah.
universe.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, yeah.
We're on our way to.
This won't age well.
But it's not empty now, is it? Look, thousands of life.
Oh, I fucking forgot how much I love this. The whole physics behind how black hole messes with time.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly for the Cybermen as well, because they have an evolution.
Yeah. And because Cybermen are patient.
Fight them, but they were too strong. Well, maybe something came out of the black hole.
Nothing comes out of a black
I just realised that no one in this scene is human.
I'm afraid you will never see your crew again.
Yeah. Now, I think an issue I'm thinking of is why is the Doctor explaining it to the blue person
Ooh.
when they don't even bring him? He now knows completely what is happening, so why aren't they instantly going down?
Well, I mean, he's not just explaining it to the blue person, he's explaining it to the others as well.
Well, Missy would know, and Nardole, if you just say exactly what it is, you don't have to draw up a diagram.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
the Doctor does like to elaborate in detail to people all the time.
But this is Bill's life on the line.
Also, I will just say, this does look great.
Oh, this is great, yeah.
Mhm.
Like, Bill's just been shot and nearly died.
That is true.
Yeah, so I think that is kind of a slight issue.
The thing is, though, when she was shot, he knew from the start that he was going to have to, like, she was going to be waiting a long time for him. And so that's why he said wait for me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really...
Exactly. But like, to make jokes to the blue person, like, don't they teach you this in, like, space school or something? It's like, that is kind of wasting time when we know that Bill is in danger.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like you can't just suddenly go down the elevator. You got to wait for it. You know.
I mean, he knows that it's going to take a long time, and times accelerate down there. So by the time they do get down, it would be what, a year?
I have no idea.
Well, he knows.
This makes that like light coming in look great.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is fantastic. Ugh. Ugh. Oh god, I hate that so much. I hate the whole thing of like something tied to your arm.
Yeah, but I like the detail of her that she keeps forgetting about it.
Mm.
Why does Bill actually reveal herself there? She doesn't need to. Yeah, that shot doesn't really work because we literally can't see it.
I think it's a direction. I think it's a direction issue. You need to like. It needs to be like you need to show her just peeping around rather than pulling the whole thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think her trying to reveal her whole body is a bit weird when she's trying to hide.
Mm.
And I actually think the master just noticing the lamp would just be enough.
Yeah. Oh god. That is honestly, this is like.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I'm really sorry.
I'm surprised this got broadcast, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like to a family audience.
The actual idea of it is like really horrifying.
Oh.
If I can't hear it, they're not in pain.
Ooh.
That looks good.
Would you like some tea?
The problem is, if you know it's John Sim, you can hear his voice straight away.
Exactly. You can see his face exactly like John Sim.
Also, it's crazy to think the last time this guy was on screen, it was fucking End of Time.
Yeah, blonde and skeletal.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
You see right through me.
That's the great thing about the Master is whenever he turns up next, he always like looks different. Every time, he always like finds a way to just remix himself. Oh, that was a bit of Harold Saxon's theme. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah,
it was like the da-da-da.
Right now, it still sounds like it.
Mm.
Positive attitude will help with the horror to come.
What horror?
Mainly
This looks fantastic. The shadows in this one is done really well. Like, I love the way this room looks. It actually looks like it's old room. I suppose he knows that she's gonna. Oh, does he know that? I can't remember. Does the Doctor know she's being converted or not? No, she doesn't because it's a surprise at the end.
Well, no, but she knows. He knows that she's being repaired, but not being brought up. Because they established that.
vending machine. Drink it while it is very hot. The pain.
Man, I miss when Doctor Who was effortlessly entertaining.
Yeah, I know.
Like, there's a few episodes in Chibnall's era that have been entertaining, but for the most part, it's really sluggish, especially Series 11.
It's just...
Whereas, like, Series 10, for example, was a breeze. Every episode was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Eat as a Light, not really.
Wow.
Exception to the rule.
Faster. Very fast bottom.
It is a version of Saxon's theme.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now that I notice it, yeah, absolutely.
But it's slower. Which makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, yeah, this makes it seem like he's explaining it to the Blue Man. But they don't even bring him.
Yeah?
And by this point now, yeah, look. Years of, about what?
Yeah.
A year or two has now passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is kind of an issue.
I feel like, I don't know, because I feel like Oh god, I like the way the lighting looks in this.
What are you doing here?
I was thinking, like, could he explain it to him, like, in the elevator? Would that be better? But then you wouldn't have the setting.
I feel like, yeah, I think you could explain it to him in the elevator, but the problem is
You wouldn't have this whole
Don't
setup
bring
where
him-
she can
yeah.
see him on the screen, though. I don't know. It's
yeah, I know, but
difficult.
logistically, in terms of what the Doctor is doing, it doesn't make much sense why he would explain it to him in the way he does.
Shannon.
This looks fantastic.
Raising his eyebrow. Why would I change? Months will fly by.
This is still a very fun section of the
Of
episode.
course. I mean, I can see how this scene has come up to be, though. It's like Moffat needs the Doctor to explain how this works to the audience, otherwise no one will understand it. It's just that, why the hell is the Doctor explaining it to this guy?
Exactly, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The actual idea, but...
And I love the idea of the fact that she can see him, like, slowly moving. That is good. I just think that it would have been better had this blue guy had been more important to the plot, you know? Like, if it was, like...
If this person was, like, important in, like, the whole story, then...
Actually,
I think
you know what's where you could have done
work.
it right? You could have had it, like, the Doctor having a sense of urgency, trying to be like, we need to get down the elevator now, don't waste any time. And then basically... What you'd have to have is you'd have to have it that this blue guy will not let them in, and he's the only one that can let them in, and so the Doctor has to explain it to them so that he would let them in. Then that would
Exactly,
make
but
more
they
sense,
don't do that, so then it's an issue.
that would be better.
So, yeah.
That
That would
slight
fix the issue.
alteration in the script would make it make more sense.
Hey, not every story is perfect. And I feel like the blue guy should get this by now.
God, imagine Christian was trying to do this exposition.
Oh, God.
It would be awful. Like, compare this to, like, when the Doctor explains the solar tract and it takes you away.
Well, okay, yeah, Chris Chibnall trying to do this idea and trying to explain it would be actual torture.
Yeah.
Conversion is permanent.
Oh,
Why?
this is like the
He's added-
Earthshock Cybermen theme.
Dying.
Yeah. Well, I think he's added it, hasn't he?
Yeah, because this isn't...
He has absolutely added
He
that,
must
because
have.
that wasn't in that
Yeah, he
before.
must have. Oh. Ooh. That...
Yeah, that's really good. Just need to light up his face a bit more, and it looks perfect.
I think
Yeah, that's really
the
good.
thing is, I think Ace Creeper, he's gone really, like, artistic with this. He's gone more like he wants it to look like stylish noir. Ooh.
Sorry, pressed for time.
That was good.
Yeah, obviously.
But not that kiddo.
I thought you needed
I mean, yeah. So, like, I think, like, instantly, like... Because obviously the guy puts the gun to the Doctor. Why doesn't he just knock him out instantly?
I mean, he tried talking his way out of it first, and that didn't work, so... Pull out the old tricks, eh? Also, I'd be very interested to know the physics behind this elevator, because obviously it's travelling when there's a black hole giving pressure. It must be very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
It must be like... I don't know. Some really advanced magnetic force.
You'd hope so, because they wouldn't have prepared for a black hole.
No,
Where did you get that?
it's the Repo Man.
They don't let you know with a mask like that. It's got your name on the leg.
Is it Jacques Rougeau?
Did you hear what he said? They don't let anybody wear a mask like this before.
He's wearing a mask on a mask.
I know, that's really funny.
You see through my clever disguise. Please tell me you did it. It's for your own good.
Oh, I like that shot with John Sim.
I'm rebuilding you to survive.
Oh, that looks great.
Not made for flesh.
There's something quite scary about, like, black eye sockets.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love this.
Oh yeah, this is really good. So was it just sitting down in a cupboard? You need the spooky reveal. Oh, that looks really good.
Necessary when you happen to be someone's
former Prime Minister.
I cannot wait for Jake to see this.
I know, legit. It's such a good reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the genesis of the Cybermen.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So that was World Enough in Time Noir.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was, I think, my biggest worry going into it was that a lot of the scenes wouldn't quite match up, but I actually think for the most part it was pretty great.
Yeah.
In terms of how the black and white actually, even like in some scenes, actually like enhanced them, like with Bill going into the room with a bunch of like Cybermen, like the lighting coming in.
Yeah,
and stuff, so
yeah.
it actually really works well.
Yeah, there were some shots in particular that looked very good, like all the shots of Capaldi in the university looked like it was 62. And then all the shots of like the Cybermen and the shadows were great. And I really liked the black hole as well. Yeah, I think Ace Tripper's done a good job. I think he's for someone that, you know, did this off zero budget, just threw this into editing software and tried to make a noir film out of it. I think he's done a really good job. So mostly praise. One thing I was going to say about the story, though, this is in regard to Moffat, that I've come to realize recently about World Enough in Time is that despite the fact that Bill spends so many years down there, she doesn't really change as a character.
She's pretty much the same for that 10 years.
And I think it was something that was on my subconscious when I first watched it, but I couldn't really put my finger on what it was. But she's the same character. And I don't know if that's believable. I feel like if you really want to sell the impact of having to live under those conditions, you want to see the character evolve. And one comparison I could make is you look at Martha in Last of the Time Lords and how she had to spend a year traveling the world, and you look at how much she evolved as a person in that year. I feel like that to me shows way more impact than what you got with Bill here. Because with Bill here, obviously the conversion part is great. It's just that she's just not in enough dread, I don't think. Like obviously...
Yeah. I think being there for like 10 years as well, you would change as a person, because that's a significant part of your life.
Yeah, and I feel like it's... For a lot of it, she's just sort of like joking around, and she's like, oh yeah, no, but it'll be fine,
Yeah, she's pretty much the same.
I feel like when we actually finally get stuff to work with is when you get to the Dr. Falls, because that's when she sees herself in the mirror, and that's when we actually
that's where it gets really good.
Yeah. But I just feel like, I feel like there should have been more of an evolution.
Yeah, that and the whole scene of the Doctor explaining it to the Blue Man, even though it's very clear that he just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And I think continuing to try he obviously knocks him out. So if the issue is, well, he's not going to let us through, why don't you do that instantly?
Yeah. I do have to...
you have no time to waste.
I do have to say, I've had this opinion since I first watched it. I haven't really shared it properly because I don't feel strongly about it. But I think World Enough in Time is just a little bit overrated, honestly. I think...
I don't think it's like one of the... I don't think it's like top 5 or top 10, but it's still very, very good.
Yeah, it's great. And, like, what it gets right, it absolutely does. But I do think it's a little bit overrated. I don't think it's quite as powerful as people say.
I think with those two issues, it does make the plot feel very iffy, because the entire plot hinges on those things.
It's also really short. Like it packs quite a lot into 45 minutes, and rather than, because with other part ones, they often are structured in a way to lead into the next episode, sort of as this overall narrative. Whereas with here, because it's a Stephen Moffat two-parter, he loves to do the thing where he has one part in one location and one part in the next, where it carries over the same story, but it's almost two completely different episodes in one.
Yeah, and I think that is something that he tends to do, especially in his run. It's not so really.
I think I'm
in like the RTD.
Well, yeah, because in like Empty Child, Doctor Dancers, and Science Library: Forest of the Dead, they are classic style two-parters. But once you get to series 5 onwards, that's when he really starts to do the whole thing of one episode, one location, one episode in the next.
Yeah, that it does seem, especially like series 5.
Yep.
Definitely series 6.
Yeah, and then like series 9 especially, like with the two-parters.
Yeah.
And it's.
And I don't think that's an issue. It's very much a noticeable trend.
Yeah, I just feel like because of that, it means that you have to really cut a lot of corners, which helps make it a pacey, entertaining bit of TV. But in terms of like fleshing out your episode to its full potential, I feel like this doesn't. It only ticks all the boxes it needs to, rather than going head and shoulders above and beyond. Whereas I would say, if I were to compare this to other, like I'm gonna be very biased here, but if I was to compare this to something like Utopia or Bad Wolf, I feel like those episodes really do go full out on what they need to.
And I think what those episodes do better is the character work.
Absolutely.
Because I think this is a very much a story episode, and not really a character building episode, which is fine. But I think if you have more of that, I think that's obviously more within the episode. There's more depth to the episode, so therefore I think it's better.
Well, because the most character stuff you get is in the very start when Bill gets shot and you get the flashback to the school. But that's more so. It's more so like definitely a whiplash effect of the doctor saying, "Oh no, you'll be fine," and then she gets shot. But that's sort of the extent of it. Whereas if you look at, I would say the Doctor Falls has a lot more character work in it, way more. And also, you got to put in perspective that I'm pretty sure the Doctor Falls is a 60-minute episode. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's an hour.
It is definitely at least around an hour. Mm-hmm. Let me check the runtime.
Yeah, and it's it does a lot more with Bill being inside the suit, and obviously you get a lot of the stuff with the Doctor, Missy, and the Master in that. And I think on first viewing, I've changed my mind now, but on first viewing, I actually remember I preferred The Doctor Falls over World Enough in Time. The reason why was because it had more character drama in it, because that just is something that I'm more interested in. But the reason why I've changed my mind is because I've had a bit of a change of what I think about the ending of The Doctor Falls. I don't hate it, but it's a bit off. Like the last sort of 5 minutes.
The ending is like it's a quite contrived ending with Bill coming back to life. It's very contrived.
Yeah, it definitely feels. It's almost like a less shit version of the Hell Bent ending with Clara and Ashilda, with Bill and Heather.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the whole thing of like when there's tears, there's hope, and the Doctor comes back, and it's a bit too like. It kind of reminds me of like Smith's era,
I'm fine with that. I'm just more. I find it the whole contrived thing with Heather and easily getting Bill out of it, even though there is a consequence.
Yeah. But the thing is, like
it's just so.
The thing is though, like Bill brings the Doctor back to life by shedding a tear on him. That kind of reminds me of, like the ending.
No, I get you.
You know the ending of
I get
you know the ending of The Snowman when Clara's dead, but then she cries and the Great Intelligence like loses. So cringe. Yeah. I think the last sort of like 5 minutes of Doctor Falls, it's not really my thing.
It doesn't fall apart, but it definitely like hinders like a lot of the story.
Yeah.
Like
I think I was just grateful because it's so much better than it's for me.
Oh, it's still very good.
Yeah. Like I was nowhere near as put off by it as much as the other Moffat finales, which was a big surprise for me. I was like, wow. We didn't get another Hellbent.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, but
Well Enough Time is definitely the better episode.
Oh yeah, it's definitely much more tightly written. But I just think it's lacking in some areas. I think it could have been better. I think the reason why why it gets so much love is obvious. Like, it's the Cybermen are great. Like, it's one of the best portrayals of the Cybermen on TV.
And the horror elements are really well done, and it's very dark, and a lot of people love that kind of stuff.
And also for, like, on your first viewing, the plot twists are great. Like, with Bill getting shot, and then you've also got the master reveal. John Sims' performance is great.
A lot going for it.
It's good. It's really, really, really good. But again, I just don't think the character stuff it's enough. I don't think it's enough. And also, it wastes a lot of its screen time on that whole exposition scene just to have, like, a cool thing where, you know, Bill can see it. And obviously, it does tie into the whole thing of, like, the master looking at the screen and be like, oh, I managed to figure out who you were. That's cool. But it's just that I don't...
That's a cool idea.
I don't like how they had to waste so much time on exposition.
The execution is very iffy, and it does give me questions of what the Doctor was doing.
Yeah, and also...
because it's not very clear.
But yeah, and just in terms of screen time, I don't know why we needed to have that necessarily, because I think most people sort of already know what's happening. All you need is a very quick explanation of how black holes work.
Yeah.
And then you could have spent more screen time, you know, developing the stuff with Bill, I think.
Like, when the blue guy goes, like, where did all these life forms come from? It's like, we've already established that time at the top and bottom of the ship are different.
Yeah.
So you'd assume that people would, you know, have offsprings. I don't think that's such a crazy thing, extra thing you need to know, because that's just, you think that it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So like, the whole thing is relying on the blue man being really dumb.
I feel like this episode should also have been an hour.
Yeah, I'd probably say so.
Yeah. But it's still great. It's a great episode. It's just...
Still very good. Still very good.
Yeah.
Just a couple of issues here and there that make the plot a little bit more questionable.
Yeah, but I just think I'm more drawn to stories that have this level of plot but also flesh out its character drama at the same time, because that just adds that extra punch for me. Yeah, I don't know. This seems to be my biggest problem with Moffat, is that I don't think he's that strong with character drama. At the very least, when he does do it, sometimes it can work, but when you get an episode like this, he often opts not to utilize it, if that makes sense. He often just chooses not to have it in the episode. And that, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, because like the character drama in Heaven Sent is perfect.
Oh, it's brilliant.
But I suppose that's because it's a minimalist episode and it's like 55 minutes. You can really focus in on it. Yeah. But then again, like Russell T Davies had 45 minutes episodes that had way more character drama than this. Like, think about like Aliens of London. That has a lot of character drama in it. And like I said before, Bad Wolf and Utopia. And yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of episodes that Davies did that were 45 minutes that had a fuck ton of character drama in it. And I just... I don't know. I feel like this episode, it's great, but it's missing something special that I am drawn to. But in regards to the edit by S. Creeper, I think he did a really good job.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job. I think there are a couple... I think our main issue was probably like, because of the blue man, it doesn't really look right. Because in terms of like the saturation,
there's a couple of shots where they're a little bit excessive with the shadows. Like it just becomes you just can't see it. Then there's also the CGI shots look unnatural in black and white. But of course, I understand why he couldn't change that, because reshooting the whole scene with practical effects would be very expensive. I also think that I just think that the film noir format demands a slower pace, and this episode was very fast paced. And I think just that all the cuts kind of doesn't feel right for the style it's going for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when you actually watch classic Doctor Who, the slower cuts feel right for the kind of story that it's telling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But you know, it's a fan project, and I think considering that, I think he did a really good job.
Yeah, there was a ton of really good shots in the noir setting, especially like I mentioned, all the scenes with Bill, exploring the hospital. Yeah. That was probably the best part of the episode in terms of using the noir to its effect.
I'm sure this is going to be a really controversial opinion, but like after rewatching this episode, I kind of feel like I'm just thinking about Series 10. I feel like World Enough in Time, it might not actually be my favorite of Series 10.
What's your favorite then?
I'm tossing up because it's either this or Extremis.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because I love Extremis.
I think Extremis is good. Yeah, I agree.
Like I
think World Enough Time is better.
The first time I watched it, I didn't really get it. But the most recent recent viewing I had of Extremis, I absolutely loved it. It might just be because Extremis is like, it surprised me with how much it's improved on rewatch, whereas with World Enough in Time, because I don't have the plot twists to look forward to as much, I suppose it does degrade slightly. This is again something that an episode like Utopia doesn't have against it, because even if you know the twist is coming, Utopia is still thrilling to watch. Just the way it's so perfectly written. I think I saw Habu Holmes do a review of Utopia, and it's like, he explains how, like, no matter how many times you watch it, no matter even if you know that the master is Professor Yana, the twist is still thrilling to watch because of how it's written. Whereas I feel like with World Enough in Time, it doesn't quite have that same level of awe. It's more so just on the first viewing, I suppose. But then again, having said that, on the first viewing I actually did know it was the master. Because I was spoiled.
Yep, same.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's at the end of the first episode of the season. Like, fucking hell. I can't believe they actually did that.
Yeah. I wish the marketing for Series 11 and 10 were reversed. Like, because Series 11 got hardly anything revealed, and it didn't need to be. Like, if they'd spoiled Series 11, it wouldn't have spoiled anything. Whereas, I suppose maybe Grace's death they could have kept secret, but, like...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If they'd spoiled, like, all of the stuff that we got in Series 11, it wouldn't have been that surprising. It would have been fine. Whereas with Series 10, if they kept it as secret as they did Series 11, it would have been a big impact. Yeah. I'm surprised at how much I'm criticizing World Enough in Time, because it's one of Moffat's best episodes. But I don't know. There's always been something about it that hasn't quite. It's never been that top tier episode for me. I've always loved it, but I've never had it like ranked as one of the best of all time. And I think there's just a bit of meat missing to it. There's a bit of character drama missing. And like we said, there's a couple of small minor issues with it, like the exposition scene, and also the fact that Bill doesn't really develop that much as a character through it. It's more so a plot heavy one. So yeah. But still a great episode. They're not they're not major criticisms. They are minor criticisms, but they are criticisms at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one is like the one involving the Doctor, because that's the most pivotal part in terms of how the Doctor gets to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the main issue is just it's not very clear what his intentions are for the whole thing. But everything else, fucking great.
I suppose maybe, I don't know. I was gonna say like maybe it's because once because I've watched so much Classic Who, I'm conditioned to expect a lot more meat to the story. I don't know, but I don't. But then again, it's like the RTD era has the same format, and yet I don't get that problem.
Yeah, as I.
Like, it's crazy how World Enough in Time is meant to take place over like years. Yeah, I feel like there's more time passage in the plot and like the Shakespeare Code, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I suppose maybe you could have like, it wouldn't quite work as well for like the plot twists, I suppose. But maybe you could have made like this part of the story like a two-parter.
Possibly.
I don't know, because you would have really had to flesh out like the city element of it and all the civilians.
I think to make it a two-parter, there's got to be a lot of changes. that they'll need to make.
Yeah, you have to really flesh out like the city and all the civilians in it. I feel like that would have been necessary.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, again, like I go back to Utopia. There's like hardly any characters in that. There's the Doctor, Martha, Jack, Yana, and Chantho, and that's about it. There's like 5 characters. And
then you just got a whole bunch of side
yeah,
characters.
and the plot is actually very minimalist. There's hardly anything that actually happens in it, but it's all dialogue, and that's impressive, really impressive that it manages to create such drama with characters just doing very simple tasks. But that is what makes Russell T Davies so special, is that he finds ways to make the episode exhilarating without having to be excessive with the plot. And I suppose in World Enough in Time, that's kind of the same. It's just the character stuff isn't, for me, as strong. And the rewatchability of the twist isn't as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's with Bill becoming a Cyberman, it's more like I'm upset because a companion that I like is being killed and converted, as opposed to I am mortified because I had to watch someone that used to be in such a great place in her life be turned into this just wounded, dead shell of a person whose only option is to be converted. You know what I mean? If that was the story, that would be so much different. But I suppose maybe they couldn't show that on TV. It's still the best finale with both the Cybermen and the Master in it, though.
I know,
because the other options are Dark Water, Death in Heaven, and Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children. Ugh, Jesus.
This is better by a long shot.
God, Doctor Who's been rough for the last 10 years, let's be honest.
It really has.
It's had its moments, but it's been rough, for me at least. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people might get a bit pissed off that I said that I might prefer Extremis, but just thinking about it, I just remember, I really liked Extremis when I watched it. I suppose one big difference between them, though, is that the payoff to Extremis is much worse. Lie of the Land is the worst way you could have paid off that setup.
The one thing that's, I guess on the hinges for me is, does Extremis make complete sense? Because I haven't actually watched it in, a long while, so I don't remember a lot about it.
That is a good question.
Does all the logistics of what they set up work?
That is a good question, actually.
That's the thing. So, and that's something we probably have to find out at some point.
That is a good question, because it is a very...
Because I think if it does, then it's quite possibly could be better written.
Yeah.
And more airtight, but yeah, we have to see.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point.
I know some people are iffy on the whole Doctor going blind storyline, but then again, a lot of the sort of question marks about that I feel like are more to do with Oxygen and the Pyramid at the End of the World rather than Extremis. Yeah. I don't know. Again, it's all minor criticisms, I feel like. Extremis does have a lot of really high concept stuff in it. It's quite complex in that regard, plot wise. So there is a chance it may have a few tisms. I don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't recall any big ones, but I don't know. I remember it being pretty sound. I don't know. I'm just a little bit shocked that I've sort of come to this revelation, I suppose. If it wasn't for the last 5 to 10 minutes, the Doctor Falls would be my favorite of Series 10. Because
same.
the first 45 minutes of that episode are some of my favorite of the Moffat era.
My only criticism of the first 45 minutes is that John Sim is kind of wasted. He doesn't actually really do much.
Yeah, but then again, I feel like he's more... his purpose in the story is more so, to... It's to be there... It's more...
Mirror of Missy.
Yeah, the Mirror of Missy. It's designed...
And that works. That completely works with Missy.
Yeah, because, again, you could argue that, Tennant is wasted in Day of the Doctor. But the whole point of him being there is to be, a mirror to Matt Smith, if you know what I mean.
And then they're a mirror to John
Yeah,
Hurt.
of course. And that's kind of the point of multi-Doctor stories. It's the same thing with the multi-Master story, is that Missy's side plot is slightly different to what's actually going on here. And John Sim's Master is in there to be the mirror to Missy. And that's sort of the purpose of it. I do have a few questions about Missy's arc. There's certain things about it, from series 8 to 10, that I'm a little bit there's some parts of it I'm like, oh, that's a bit too surface level. Like, there's parts where she's like, I just want to be your friend again, and I'm just like, oh, that could have been a bit better. And it also, like, I think Lord Dylan made a I know he doesn't like it. The main reason being is he doesn't feel like it's really motivated, and I don't necessarily think that it has to be motivated, but he does kind of have a point that it probably would have been better had, like, if Moffat had known in hindsight, you know, let's say he knew he was going to do Series 10 from the beginning, because he didn't know until Chibnall decided to do Broadchurch Series 3, and let's say he knew when Capaldi era was beginning that he was going to do Series 10, like, I feel like if he had had that forward planning and there was an actual motivation for this arc, it would have been a lot more powerful as a whole.
I think with Missy, the motivation of them wanting to become friends is established from her first story, like proper story. So I don't have a problem with it. It's just yeah.
They do it in Death in Heaven, but it's a bit weird. I can't really. It's not really there's not really that big punch. Like, there's not like a really specific moment I can be like, yes, this is the moment when, you know, it all begins. It just sort of happens, and it feels like it's done.
It's to me sounds like it because of her wanting to become the Doctor's friend again.
Yeah,
that's the start. I guess that's the beginning of the transition, really. I agree, it's definitely not clear, and it needs a lot of work.
I feel like
I'm fine with it being established like that.
I feel like there was more, like, I would argue Russell T Davies did more to kickstart Missy's arc than Moffat. Like, I would argue,
I'd probably
the moment at the end of time when he says "get out of the way" is probably like the punch moment that would
that actually really true.
Symbolize that change. And then, of course, you know, in The Doctor Falls, he's sort of denying it, because then obviously the timey-wimey thing happens.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. Again, it's like, this is the thing with Series 10, is most of my criticisms are minor. It's just like, there's just things that could have been even better. Like, I feel like, even, like Series 10, like, spoilers for, you know, if I do another ranking. I mean, people have already seen it with the one that I did with Adam. But, like, Series 10 is my favourite of Moffat's era, but there is still things about it that I feel like could have been better. And a lot of it has to do with the character drama. He just doesn't quite ever get to that full potential that I feel like the show is capable of. And that goes the same obviously goes for Christian either. He just fuck all with his characters. And I think it purely just comes down to the fact that Russell T Davies just set the bar so high for what you can do with the characters in the show that it just feels underwhelming when Moffat and Chibnall do it, because it just doesn't feel as fleshed out. There's not as much of a massive focus on the motivations behind these arcs. There's not that level of intricate, you know, human development. There's not, you know, if you get what I'm saying. And I feel like, you know, with Bill, I really like Bill, but it's more so just I like her personality as it is, but I don't really feel like her character arc is that complex. And that's like one of the only real issues I have. She doesn't really change much. It's also like, obviously, with all the episodes of Series 10, they repeat the same thing again about how she's interested in women, not men. And it just doesn't really evolve. It just feels like she's a little bit stagnant. Until it's, I mean, there was one point where she almost got some really good development in Lie of the Land when she was willing to kill the Doctor, but then that gets reversed when it's a cop-out regeneration.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, in The Doctor Falls, when she realizes that she's become a Cyberman, we do get a bit more, but it's like, it's not enough. There should be more. And then, of course, you know, I also have criticisms of how Moffat handled his other companions as well, especially Clara. A lot of the so-called complex character stuff with Clara is quite forced. Like, I watched Listen the other day, and it's just like her importance to the Doctor all comes down to this just massive coincidence that she happened to time travel to when he was a child. It's not earned. It's just this really stupid, like, oh, I was there when you were a baby and said this big speech to you, and now you are the man you are because of me. I can't stand that. Yeah. And then you've got stuff like how, you look at Amy Pond and all the things that have happened to her. Like, she's one of the companions that have had the most, like, damage done to her life, and yet I often forget, because she doesn't really evolve much as a person. I suppose she gets more confident, in certain ways, and she recovers herself, and obviously there's the relationship with Rory. But I just feel like as a person, it's like these massive things that happen to her don't really change her much as a person, as much as it should anyway. Whereas you compare that to something like, if you compare this to the way that Davies do it, like the Doctor, because of the genetic transfer having to like trick the Jadoon, kissing Martha, completely changed her life. It's like one small thing has this massive ripple effect on her whole life. Whereas I feel like with Moffat, he does these massive things to these characters, and it doesn't really have as much of an impact as it should. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I feel like I much prefer their approach of like small decisions create big ripple effects rather than big decisions being the plot. I feel like I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I watched speaking of Moffat, I watched the first episode of Sherlock recently.
Oh.
Why do you react like that?
Because it's something written by Moffat. I haven't seen it, to be fair. So
yeah, I noticed.
I don't know if it's good.
I noticed a lot of Moffat things in that show.
That doesn't.
The way Sherlock Holmes is characterized has so much of like Smith and Tennant in it.
Yeah.
And also, it's got like the same kind of comedy, and also the way he structures the plot is so similar to a lot of his episodes. Like he has a bunch of like really cool set pieces to impress you, rather than like a narrative that's strung by cause to effect, if you know what I mean.
Moffat is a weird one.
A Study in Pink is pretty solid. I suppose part of it is that it's an adaptation of an actual Sherlock Holmes story done in the modern day with Moffatisms in it. But it was very Moffatian. I was like, there were some parts of it where I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm getting flashbacks. But Mark Gatiss is great though as Mycroft. Anyway, anything else you want to say about World Enough in Time Noir, or anything that we've discussed in this video?
I think the noir aspects of the episode overall worked well, bar from a couple shots, but that's just due to obviously the episode being made in 2017. And I think World Enough in Time itself, while it's very, very, very tightly written, there are just a couple of issues there here and there that just needed to be cleared out after watching that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall I enjoyed that. I really did.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, watching this has, I've been impressed by what George did with the edit, but it's opened my eyes to a few issues with World Enough in Time. It's peeled back some things.
To be fair, I mentioned the whole Doctor plan elaborate thing, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
So yeah. But
it just, yeah.
I think that just comes with us sort of just talking about the episode and the logistics of it.
Yeah, I suppose the thing is that because we've already talked about what's great about it before, we're sort of talking about the criticisms, because there's plenty of great things we could talk about the episode. Like, it's fantastic, but it's just looking at it with a very critical eye. I'm starting to see some of the things that it's not getting right, or things that it's missing.
Yeah. I think if someone says that this episode is like kind of perfect, then it's like there's definitely holes to be picked at.
And also the fact that, like, if this had been an overall like two-parter that, or like, you know, as a narrative, because there's episodes where it's like certain things, like I was saying with the character drama, I could be like, well, it's fine because, you know, this gets developed to the point it needs to here, and then it's paid off here, blah blah blah. Like when you look over the course of like a serial, the problem I have is that a lot of the stuff that's missing from World Enough in Time isn't in the Doctor Falls, because the Doctor Falls is a completely separate episode. Yes. And that's the biggest issue I have with Moffat's two-parters, the way he does them.
Yeah, they're very individual. They are. They don't really support each other in terms of being an overall story.
And this is why I think Empty Child Doctor Dances and Silence in the Library Forest of the Dead are far better than his two-parters in his own era.
Because they're way more focused on the actual story itself, and they don't sort of deviate into either like a different kind of section of it.
Honestly, I think you could...
They're a lot more airtime.
I mean, bloody Girl in the Fireplace and Blink have more character drama than this episode. and they're only 45 minutes. It might just be my bias. I might be like just remembering wrong or being tricked, but I swear to God, like Moffat's episodes in the Davies era just had so much more character drama than the ones that he wrote in his own, I feel. Because a lot of the character drama episodes in his own era aren't written by him. You know? You think about like Amy's Choice, of the God Complex of the Doctor's Wife, A Town Called Mercy, get what I'm saying here. Like Face the Raven's not even written by Moffat, it's a Sarah Dollard episode. I think we should end the video there. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought of World Enough in Time Noir. Would you be keen to see George do Noir of any other episodes, and if so, which ones?
I don't know which ones would be suited for
I think I've seen people suggest Blink, because it's horror.
Blink would be probably okay.
Maybe. I think someone said The Haunting of Villa Diodati.
That would be a decent try. Yeah.
You know what's actually this might sound like a weird choice because I really don't like the episode. But visually, something that actually might fit Noir in some scenes would be the Vampires of Venice. But I wouldn't be overly keen to see it because I don't really care. Like I watched that episode earlier this year, and I tweeted as I was watching it. I was just like, I do not give a rat's ass about anything happening in this episode. It's just so boring. Ugh. I feel like there's like classic Who stories that would benefit film noir more than New Who. Like Inferno would be a good example. I feel like would be good in film noir, or Caves of Androzani.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Nightmare of Eden. Adam and I had to watch that in black and white because of the conditions we had, and that was very scary in black and white.
It does help episodes sometimes.
Oh, actually, I have a suggestion, George. If you're watching this, the Torchwood episode Countryside, gorecore horror. And I suppose the only problem with it is that you wouldn't be seeing the blood, which would be take away somewhat, but I feel like maybe you could pull it off. God, what if they did Cyber Woman in film noir? God. Oh, actually, no. Oh yeah, again, like wrong tone, but visually speaking, a bit like Vampires of Venice. I feel like Hyde, you could probably do in black and white because of the visual style.
Yeah,
it's just unfortunate the episode is what it is. See, there's a lot of episodes that visually I could see in film noir. It's just the tone of the story wouldn't quite fit. Like,
yeah, the tone doesn't really work with
like Angels Take Manhattan as well. Like visually, I can see it being in film noir, especially because it's like old New York. But again, it's just like the whole tone of the episode. It's too cheesy. What about Heaven Sent? Heaven Sent, yeah, I think that would be good. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you whenever we see you next. Bye.
Bye.